Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Anthony here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to add a feature on your website where you can enable and disable dark mode, or enable dark mode and then enable light mode again. So a lot of times on websites they have this feature where you can click on a button and it will change the color, or it will change it'll change it into dark mode. So a good example would be the discord.js website. If we go on it, you can see that right now we have this light mode enabled with this really bright background. A lot of people don't like it, so they tend to use dark mode. So if I click on this button over here to turn off the lights, you can see that everything is now dark. Like the entire background is dark, and it looks a lot more cozier. It's a little more color. We can go to the documentation as well, and you can see that everything else is also dark as well. We can also click on this button again, and it will just turn everything back to a little brighter color. Okay, so a lot of websites actually have this feature. YouTube has it. Instagram has dark mode as well. Facebook Messenger has dark mode. I'm trying to think if there's any other apps. There's a lot of apps that have dark mode, and it's actually a very, very, very popular thing now that I've noticed. That's been appearing in a lot of different websites. So I'm going to show you guys how to add this feature. So it's very easy, very easy. So I'm going to show you this sample website that I have over here. This is just a simple website with a nav bar, a simple H1 tag, some text. There's nothing complex about this, right? The whole point of this video, we're not going to build like a website from scratch. I'm just going to show you guys how to actually manipulate the DOM so that we can actually change the background color. Because really all enabling dark mode is just changing the CSS, change the styles of your elements. That's it. Okay, so when I click on this button, what happens underneath the hood is, we're just changing the background color of whatever, element this is, right? We're changing the background color. We're also changing the colors of the fonts, like the color of the text. So notice how in light mode, the text color is, it's not really necessarily black, but it's like more of like a darkish color, like maybe like dark gray or light black. But then when we enable dark mode, all of this turns into, a much brighter white color. So it's kind of like, it inverts the colors basically, right? Because obviously if we don't change other elements like, the text color, it's probably going to it's going to camouflage with the background color, and you won't be able to see your text, or other people won't be able to see the text on the website. Okay. So we're basically it's kind of like we're just inverting the colors basically. Okay, so let's go ahead and just add that feature to our website. So I'm just going to run through the entire code real quick, because I don't want to spend so much time on just showing you guys how to build a whole layout from scratch, because this isn't really like an HTML tutorial. This is just me showing you guys how to add dark mode. But it's a very, very simple demonstration. It's not like I'm using like a Facebook website to enable dark mode. This is just a very simple template, okay? And it should give you an idea on how to just get started with manipulating the DOM. So if you're familiar with HTML, pretty much the first couple lines is just the sample boilerplate of an HTML file. You have the doc type HTML, you have the HTML tag, and then right after you have the header tag, well, not the header, the head tag, which contains your meta tags, your title, your link tags, and etc. And the link tag is basically what we're using to reference the external style sheet. So we have this styles.css file over here. And then we have the body tag as well. Inside the body, this is where all of the main content goes. I have my simple nav bar up here, which is what this element over here is, as the Anson, home, about, careers, about. It doesn't work. None of this works. Okay, it's just a placeholder. Then I have the main tag, which contains all of the main content, and all I just have here is just two sections. Okay, they both have classes, and then inside this second section, I have I think 1, 2, 3, 4 articles, and that's pretty much it. Again, it's a very simple template. The whole point is just show a simple demonstration of how this whole thing works. Okay, we're not gonna go into the CSS because really this is just all my own custom CSS, so whatever I do is really just up to me. You guys can customize your own CSS yourselves. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to add some kind of interface where people can enable and disable dark mode. So typically people would add either a button or some kind of slider or some toggle button. I'm not going to focus on that because that's just not really relevant to the whole point of manipulating the DOM. I'm just going to use a simple like text thing where you can click on it and it'll just enable, and then it'll disable the dark mode, right? But you can be creative too. Okay, you can take what you learned from this video and apply it to your creativity and, you know, incorporate a slider or some other thing. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our HTML file and let's just add a simple text thing. So let's see over, I think I want to do this up here in main. So I'm going to say span, and I'm going to go ahead and say enable dark mode. And I'm actually going to give this an ID of enabled or enable. So if I save that, you're going to see it's going to be over here. Okay, it doesn't matter where you want to put it, that's all up to you, but I want to put it on the right hand side. So I'm actually going to position this absolutes. So I do have my main tag, my main element positioned as relative, which is good. So that way this element that's a child element of the main tag is going to position absolute to that main element. So we're going to say position absolute. We're going to say top 0, and then from the right we're going to do 2 instead of 0, because I don't want it to be all the way just like to the right. I want there to be at least some spacing. And we're going to change the font size because I don't really like that. We're going to change it to 12 pixels. And that should be fine. And what else? I'm also going to set the cursor property to pointer, so it looks like so when you hover over it, it looks like it's clickable. Doesn't do anything though. And we're going to go ahead and do enable. So we're going to use the hover selector, and we're going to say, so when you hover over that element, we're going to just give it a text decoration of underline. So when I hover over, it's going to give us that underline effect. Okay, it would be nice if we had a transition, but you can't transition text decoration, but we could add like a border and stuff, but we're not going to focus on that for now. Okay, cool. So I think that's all we need for the CSS for this texting. So when we click on it, what should happen is we should click on it, and then it should change to enable light mode, which we're going to let the JavaScript handle, and then it's going to toggle an entire class, which is going to change the styles. So what we need to do next, and I actually just realized that we can't forget to create another class to override the styles of this entire body over here. Okay, so let me just show you something real quick. So let's say right now, if I go into body, if I change the background color to black, right? So because ideally this is what's going to happen. We're going to change the entire background color to a dark color, and then we're basically going to change the text color as well to a lighter color. So I can just, you know, copy this and just do color. That's the like a white shade, and you can see we have this color over here. You can go on coolers.co. and you can just, like, you know, go through all these swatches. You can play around with it. You can also edit the shades of the swatches as well. So I think this is a really useful website for just a lot of reasons. So yeah, you can just play around with it. I use this website a lot. It's really cool. Okay, so I think there's another. I don't want to do like entirely black. I want to do like maybe like a lighter black. So maybe smoky black. We can do maybe, yeah, smoky black may be fine. Not sure if there's a. Wait, no, that's not the right color. You can't really tell much of the, at least I can't, but you can do maybe like a darker gray, maybe like that, like onyx, but it wouldn't really look too nice. And again, you can just go through this yourself and just kind of, like, you know, play around with it until you figure something out that works for you. Okay, cool. I think this should be okay for now. We're just gonna leave it like this. Okay. But that's the idea. When we click on that, text, it's going to manipulate the entire CSS of the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a class. Okay, we're going to say .dark mode, and it's going to have these properties. Background color is going to be whatever the color is, and then text color is going to be this. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add that class to this body element. Okay, so it's going to look, so the JavaScript is going to do something like this. It's going to add the dark mode class to body, and it's going to look like that. And then when we click on enable light mode, it's going to take away that class, and it's going to look like this. Okay, so to do that, we're going to need to do some DOM manipulation. So we need JavaScript for that. So we're going to go ahead into the index.js file, and just to let you know that I have my index.js file imported into the index.html file over here, or I shouldn't say import, I should say referenced. So you use the script tag right before the closing tag of the body, and you say script source equals scripts/index.js, and then that's going to reference index.js inside scripts folder. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do let body. We're going to use the query selector function to select the body tag. Okay, so what the query selector function does is it will select the first occurrence of the tag that you specify over here. So for example, if let's say if I want to select the first span, if I did span right over here, right, it would select this span over here, Anson. So let me actually show you guys that real quick. So if I do body, if I save, and if I go into the console, you're going to see it logs this element over here, Anson. Okay, so it's going to select the first occurrence of the specified tag. There's only going to be one body tag, so we can just use query selector. We don't have to use something like get element by ID. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to get the enable dark mode element. Okay, because we're going to manipulate the text inside over here. We're going to change it to enable light mode when we're in dark mode, and then when we're in dark mode, when we're in light mode, we're going to change it to enable dark mode. So we're going to say let's enable, and we're just going to say document. For this, we're going to use get element by ID because this is a span. So obviously, if I used query selector, it would not select the correct one. So we're going to use get element by ID. We're going to specify the ID of it, which is enable. And that's going to get us that span. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. This is going to serve as a flag. We're going to call this dark mode. We're going to set it to false. So the first occurrence is going to be, it's always going to be false, right? We're not in dark mode currently. So we're going to set that to false. But when we click on that, it's going to set dark mode to true, and we're going to toggle the entire class. Okay, so we need to add a click event listener. So we need to listen to click events on this element over here. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're just going to say enable add event listener. So remember, this enable variable is referencing this element over here in the document, this enable dark mode, right? Because this is what we want them to click on. So when they click on it, we're going to just do something. We're just going to toggle the class. So what I'm doing over here is I'm saying enable.add event listener. And then the first parameter is the name of the event, so the click event. And the second parameter is a callback function, which takes in the event element, but we're not going to do anything with it. But this is a mouse event. Okay, so you can use it to do all sorts of things, but we're not going to worry about it for now. Because all we're doing is we're going to say dark mode. So we're going to reference this variable. Over here, this global variable. And we're just going to set it to the opposite value. So if it's false, it's going to be true. If it's true, it's going to be false. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and actually toggle the DOM. We're going to toggle the class for the body element. So we're going to say body. So remember, this variable references the body element. We're going to reference the class list property. And we're going to call the toggle method. Okay, so the class list property is just basically like a list of all of the classes that the element has. In this case, there are no classes on the body, so that list is actually going to be empty. So we're going to add, and we're going to add dark hyphen mode because that's the name of our class. Okay, or I'm sorry, not add. It's toggle. Okay, adding it adds it to it, right? It doesn't actually toggle it. So toggle will basically toggle, the way it works is if it's already there, like if the class is present, it'll remove it, and if it's absent, it'll add it. Okay, but adding it will just actually add it there and not actually remove it. So we want to toggle it instead. That's the difference. So it's dark mode. And I think that's it for there. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to say if dark mode. So we're going to check if dark mode is true. So if dark mode is true, then what we're going to do is we're going to use this condition to change the text. So we want to change the text of enable dark mode because obviously right now, if I just save this, right, it will work. But it still says enable dark mode, and we don't want that, right? That's not a good design. It's not a good user experience. We want it to say enable light mode. So we can go ahead and say if dark mode. So if that's true, we're going to reference the span that holds this enable dark mode text, and we're going to say enable. So that's this element over here that we got earlier, and we're going to reference the inner HTML property, and we're going to set that to enable light mode. And else, we're just going to say inner HTML enable dark mode, like that. Okay, so now if I click this, it's going to say enable light mode. Let me zoom in a little bit. So enable light mode, enable dark mode, enable dark mode. Cool. All right, that's pretty freaking awesome. All right, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the basic of adding dark mode to your website. One more thing that I should mention is that, let's say for example, if you wanted, because right now if I were to enable dark mode, everything turns into the same color for the text, right? And that's because we have the entire body's color set to this color over here. But what if I wanted to have, let's say, this H1 tag be a separate shade of gray or a separate shade of white, for example? Let's say if I wanted it to be, I don't know, let's just generate a random color, rocket metallic. Let's maybe do a lighter one. Let's say if I wanted this silver chalice. Let's say if I want this color, right? So what we can do is we can actually reference the H1 tag. So what this will do is it'll reference H1 tags after the element that has the dark mode class. So for example, since this body has a dark mode class, what this will do is it'll look for elements that are nested inside this body class that are H1, and we're gonna change the color of that to this. So you're gonna see that right now, if I refresh, changes this color to the silver chalice color that we had, and everything else is the same color. And of course you can use this to the best of your ability to change colors of different components, different elements, different links, text, whatever you want. Okay, cool. And I guess one more thing that I do want to mention is that, let's say if you wanted it so that when the user visits your website again, and you wanted to make sure that it's in dark mode, because right now obviously if I enable dark mode, but if I refresh, it's going to go back to light mode by default. So if you wanted to go back to dark mode when the user revisits your website, you would want to use something. You could either use cookies or you could use local storage. I'd probably suggest local storage though. So yeah, we're not going to worry so much about that in this video. So hopefully this video will help you guys out. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. I think in the next video I'll probably cover the cookies part to show you guys how to save it, but I don't think we're going to worry about it in this video. So okay, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.